I want to mash a few things together for you guys and then have a quick little discussion afterwards, because I made a video a couple of weeks ago about AI and taking programmer and everybody that works on a computer's jobs, but it goes a lot deeper than that. And I got some funny responses of people calling me crazy and stupid. Didn't use the word stupid, but a few people were responding to me like I was idiotic and not knowing what I'm talking about. And this morning I see a news clip on YouTube in my YouTube feed, and I thought it was really interesting, so I want to play that clip and mash together the video I made a couple of weeks ago about this topic about AI. And I also want to bring some better understanding. I think some of you are confused about why I'm starting a new tree business, a tree service, and it's not the reasons that you think. I'm not worried about losing my job working on a computer. So I'll talk about that too afterwards, after the clips. And the reason might surprise many of you.
All right, here's a question. Could the rise of artificial intelligence lead to job losses for everyday Americans trying to make ends meet? Our next guest, who is the CEO of one of the most powerful AI companies in the world, says we are heading for a catastrophic employment crisis that no one is talking about. Well, we are going to talk about it with Dario Amodei, who is the CEO of Anthropic. He joins me now. Dario, thank you so much for joining us. You have a critical message for us this morning. So how many job losses are we talking about here, and who is at risk?
So just to back up a bit, I've been working on AI for 10 years, and probably the thing I've noticed most about it is how fast it's making progress. 2 years ago, it was at the level of a smart high school student. Now it's probably at the level of a smart college student and reaching beyond that. And on one hand, I think there's a number of very positive things that are going to happen. I used to be a biologist. I think AI has exactly the kind of skills that are needed to cure important diseases like cancer and Alzheimer's, to provide cheaper energy, many positive things. But exactly those same kind of skills, things like summarizing a document, brainstorming, putting together a financial report, makes me worry a lot that entry-level jobs in areas like finance, consulting, tech, many other areas like that, entry-level white-collar work, I worry that those things are going to be first augmented, but before long replaced by AI systems, and that we may indeed, it's hard to predict the future, but we may indeed have a serious employment crisis on our hands as the pipeline for these early stage white collar work starts to contract and dry up.
What's the timeline here?
Yes, so it's very hard to predict these things given how fast AI is making progress. But I would not be surprised if somewhere between 1 and 5 years.
Okay, so that's what AI can do today, and I really do believe that my best guess is 5 years, maybe 10, but I would say within 5 years, the millions and millions of developers and people building websites for people or mobile apps and this or that, 99.9% of those jobs are going to be gone.
What's the timeline here?
Yes, so it's very hard to predict these things given how fast, AI is making progress. But I would not be surprised if somewhere between 1 and 5 years we started to see big effects here. I've heard a number of people talk about this in private. AI CEOs talk about this in private. CEOs of other companies talk about this in private. And I really felt that the message that this is happening hasn't been getting out to ordinary people, hasn't been getting out to our legislators or Congress people either. And so I felt I needed to speak up on the record. I do think that this is something we can prevent this, but we need to act now. I don't think we can stop the AI bus. There are 6 or 7 companies just in the U.S. working in this area. I just run one of them. Even if our company stopped doing what it was doing today, all the other companies would continue. Even if all 6 companies started, then China would beat us. I think that's a big and important threat. So we can't stop the bus, but I do think we may have an opportunity to steer it. And I think, we need to get Congress people, legislators, the public to think about this now. One of the first steps we're taking is just measuring the effects. Anthropic has put out something that we call our economic index. And using the economic index, we try and track the rate at which these things are happening. At some point, we have to go beyond measuring this to actually taking action, to trying to build our AI systems in a way that augments rather than replaces. But that won't be a long-term solution either. We need to think about what the government is going to do. And there's a wide range of actions that the government could take. And it's not my place to decide which of those are correct. But I think the first step is people need to think about this and start taking it very seriously.
Yeah, and you're talking about AI possibly wiping out all entry-level white-collar jobs and spiking unemployment to 10 to 20%. So dive into the mitigation of this a little bit more. How could we mitigate the worst possible scenario here?
Yeah, so it's hard to know the exact numbers. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't predict the future. But what I will say is I think what AI can do, there have been these technological changes in the past, but I think what's different about AI is it's broader, it's deeper, and it's moving faster than previous such technologies. And so in terms of mitigations, I think one is just educating people in order to use AI. There will always be people who are using AI, and helping our workers to adapt faster, I think is an important move. A second move is that we may want government to kind of find a way to level the economic playing field. And this may be a controversial proposal, but something like taxing AI companies like us, we may need to get
and that's
to things
a very
that are
interesting
extreme.
message coming from you, who runs an AI company. But you're doing a public service announcement for all of us in terms of this future concern. Dario, thank you so much for joining.
Okay, the first thing I want to mention is that anybody who thinks that they're having a novel or new idea in saying that AI is going to take jobs, destroy parts of humanity, do away with a lot of the human population, or just do away with the need for a large human population. It's not a new or novel idea, because there's been countless books and movies and everything else that have been written and made about this topic, a war with machines or AI taking over things. There's been countless movies, tons of books for decades written on this topic. So it's not a new or novel idea, but we are, as a whole, as a global population, we are sleepwalking right into it. Our heads are buried into the sand, and basically all of these stories and movies that have been written about this topic are going to basically come true if we don't put a leash on it now, or do something to ensure that humans will have a place. So if there's 8 billion of us on the planet right now, when AI really does come into its own and really becomes born, then there will not be a need for the 8 billion. There won't be room for the 8 billion. There's 8 billion on the planet right now because all of these nations, all of these developing nations, and the top nations in the world right now, they need very large human populations in order to grow and keep what they have protected and going manufacturing wise. All the job markets, all the way from waitresses and waiters to factory workers, and all these people are going to be replaced by robotic things. And then there won't be a need. So it's just going to be a really weird thing where the elite class is going to be catered to by robotic things instead of human things. So the serfs, the slaves, That's going to change from being, the normal blue-collar people. That's going to change from being humans to being robots. If we don't address and fight against it, there has to be a war on artificial intelligence and technology in order to make room for humanity. Else, there won't be room for humanity. The earth will be controlled and shared by elite ruling classes, a few clans of humans that control AI entities instead of employing and controlling human entities. And I don't care either way. I'm not going to argue with anybody about what's right or wrong or what's moral or not, because many of you might be of the mindset that, well, humans suck anyway, and there's way too many of us. And then some of you might say, no, there's room for 20 billion humans to live on the earth, or even 50 billion if we live in the right sort of way. We can make that happen. And then there's going to be some of you who say, no way, there's already too many of us. And that argument can be had, and I don't even want to take part in it. But I like making videos like this because I just want you guys, my fellows, my viewers, just to be aware and don't have your head buried in the sand. If you're somebody that wants to keep 8 billion humans on the planet, you're going to have to fight against this technology stuff. And if you're somebody that wants less humans on the planet and you'd like to see a replacement, then you fight for the robots and the AI. Now, I've got to clear something up about my new tree business. I am creating a new tree business because, and I've had this in the works for years, and it has nothing to do with AI. It really has more to do with the whole developer industry. Basically, what I'm trying to say is programming is not fun or interesting to me anymore because so many people have led a revolution of frameworks. And basically, the framework revolution is the step before the AI revolution. So I would imagine the same people who are all about frameworks and being super dependent on not knowing what's under the hood of their projects, they ride on training wheels, they walk on crutches, so they're not masterful in the craft. They're not artists. They're just worker bees who are looking for the easiest and fastest way to get a goal accomplished or a task accomplished in the projects. So that's what frameworks were, is that these people don't know how to program that well, but they can still make things happen. So that discouraged me a long time ago, and that's why I stopped making so many video tutorials, is because I realized that I was a dying breed and that I had interests in the craft that not many others have. And don't get me wrong, I know a lot of you listening, you might have the similar interest that I have, where you like to understand the core of the language and you're not overly dependent on any third-party code to power your systems. So the exciting thing for me was to create what wasn't created, to invent what has not been invented yet. That's what was exciting for me. And now it's just got to a point where the craft, the industry, the work is not exciting anymore to me, because everything really has been invented, and now AI is going to be inventing the future of it. So I used to go back and forth with you guys about frameworks being something that's going to destroy the whole industry and all the people working in it, and it makes people, let me put it this way, anybody can hit piano keys and make a piano make a sound, and maybe they can regurgitate a song and learn it perfectly, But there's only a few certain people who can master the art form. It's the same with painting on a canvas. Anybody can slap colors on a canvas, but it's only a few certain select who are going to be masters of that craft, masters of that art form. And I view programming and development and even digital design, I view that in the same way. So back to the tree business. On my property here at my house, I've been working with the trees and the land since what, 1999, 2000? I think I moved into this place around the late 1990s. And I've been working with the trees, cutting down trees, doing various things on the land for decades now. And I find it to be very fulfilling. It's nice to be outdoors with nature, with the birds chirping, even dealing with the bugs, snakes, all that. I find it to be more fun than sitting on a computer all day or sitting on a computer for work. So that's why I decided to do the tree business, is because over the last few years I've got into the climbing aspect of tree work, and I just love it. I love climbing trees. I love trimming trees and pruning trees. I like promoting tree health, and you guys might see me knocking down a bunch of trees and sawing them up and murdering trees, but you don't see the 10 trees that I planted for the 10 that I cut down. So I'm not just murdering trees, I'm breeding trees also. And I'm just trying to make my property nicer for my children, because my children like to play around on the whole property, and if it's all just woods, there's not much open space for them. So I'm clearing some space, and I'm trying to get the wildlife held back a little bit to make room for my children to play. They have a four-wheeler, they have bikes, they like to run around, they have a little playground out there. And basically why I'm starting the tree business is because I've reached an age, I'm getting older now, to where I don't want to just sit and waste away in a chair at a desk in front of a screen. And that's what happens to your body when you do this sort of work. You're wasting away. Humans are not made, engineered, or built to be sitting the way we do on computers in front of screens all day. We were built to be out there doing things with our hands and working hard. So I'm going to use my midlife here I'm going to work my body hard. I'm going to be in top physical shape. And it's been too long that I've been not doing that. So I really want to do that. And tree work, you can charge a lot of money. If you're a tree worker for somebody else's business, you're not really going to make all that much, but you can make decent money being a tree worker in somebody else's business as an employee. But I'm going to be owning my own tree service. So the owners of tree services, especially if you work solo like I'm going to be working, you can make a really good living. You can make a lot of money. I'll probably be making more money than I can sitting on my butt programming on a computer. And that's a high-paying industry and a high-paying job. Over $100 an hour if you're good. But the tree work, I think I'll be able to earn a little bit more. I'm going to get my body into top peak physical condition. And my mind, especially my mind, is going to be elevated and lifted, I think. Being out there with nature, being in the trees, with the trees, my hands in the dirt. And I know it's a little bit dangerous, but I'm going to be really careful. And I trust my equipment, and the equipment I have is really good. I'm good at assessing trees, their health. whether they're decaying or rotting, or if they have a chance to break and snap with me in them. I'm pretty good at assessing all of that, so I'm going to be really careful. And I definitely don't want to hurt myself out there because I have a wife and children. I have 2 kids that are young, and it would be horrible if they lose their father to some freaky tree accident. So around power lines, around dead, decaying trees, falling branches, I'm going to be really careful with all that stuff. And like I said, I've been doing it for a couple of decades now. I mean, not hardcore, but I'm about to get into it real hardcore. Alright, so that being said, I want to know what your thoughts are. What are your thoughts on sitting at a computer all day doing this kind of work for a living? Or even hobby-wise. Even before I was doing it for work, I was obsessed with learning computer programming and all the design aspects of software engineering and things like that. I would spend a lot of time on my computer, even before I was a paid professional in the industry. So you don't have to be a professional in the industry to sit all day at your computer nerding out and wasting away. But you know, it's not really wasting away if you're feeling invigorated and excited by it. But like I said, I've been doing it so long, and the industry has shifted into different directions so much that it doesn't excite me anymore. It's so boring. It's such a boring industry to be in now. When I was in it, and when it was really booming, it was the birth of it. It was a very exciting time to be part of that and to be doing that kind of work. But that has shifted for me. But I want to know your thoughts. Is it still exciting? Are you young, just getting into it now? Is it exciting? Do you feel like you can innovate? Or do you just feel like you're going through the motions like millions and millions and millions of other people? Are you a master of the craft? Are you an artist in the industry? Or are you just somebody that hobbles on crutches and rides on training wheels and makes Frankenstein projects all over the place? These are things I want to know. Alright, I'll talk to you guys soon. Love y'all. Bye bye.